Hey guys, what's going on? This is your old pal CHH. We've got a really good one for you guys today. Do you remember sometime late last year when I did a video about a Scream Factory Blu-ray I wanted you guys to check out? Well, I manifested that 4K. Okay, I'm not totally taking credit for it, but I do remember some people saying, you know, while you're talking about this now, they're definitely going to do a 4K for this movie. And I'm very ashy right now because it's cold outside, so my skin's all dry, so excuse me if I scratch my shin. But anyway, before we even get into this, I want to tell you guys about something. If you have a Sony UBP-X 700-800, if you've ever had your image kind of freeze, where the audio is fine, but the image kind of freezes, I was at my wit's end. I found this video that said, go to the settings. So when you're at the home page, go to the top right, click the little setup tab, and then go to 4K upscale setting, and then turn it off. I think what's happening, I don't know if it's whether new discs are made differently or something, don't ask me the technology, but from what I understand, what it's doing is, even though it's already a 4K disc, it's trying to upscale it even more and add more pixels, and because of that, it's causing that jitter. I turned it off, it worked perfectly fine. My movies were smooth as butter, so it was amazing. So keep that in mind, check that out, and see if that fixes it, if anybody's had any issues with 4Ks that they've been watching. So, alright guys, so today we're talking about one of my all-time favorites. I love Roger Corman. If you guys know me, when we talked about Galaxy of Terror, I gave a whole spiel about Roger Corman, and again, I'm just happy to be able to talk about him again today. Humanoids from the Deep. So I first saw this isn't a lifelong movie that I've fallen in love with, really, but so long story short, I remember watching the Joe Bob Briggs show on Shudder, and they did Humanoids from the Deep, and I had always heard about it, but I just didn't think much of it. I'll be honest with you, I didn't think much of it. I didn't think it would be that great, but I watched it, and I fell in love with Humanoids from the Deep. I thought it was one of the best Roger Corman movies I'd seen. Obviously, I mean that being under his umbrella. It's probably the most quintessential drive-in kind of B-horror title. Again, like I said in Galaxy of Terror, don't let the phrase B-horror make you think it's crap. No, this is just independently made stuff. This was not the big studios making these movies. It was Roger Corman making these movies, who was the god of all that stuff. But Humanoids from the Deep, in a simple premise, on this shore town, all of a sudden, there's these animals that are showing up dead on the beach. All of a sudden, people start showing up dead, and there's these tribes trying to figure out who's doing it. These people think it's these people doing it. These people think it's this people doing it. Well, eventually, we find out that there are these humanoids coming from the water off of the shore, and they are killing all the men, and they are trying to mate with all the women. This movie is so entertaining. The thing about some of these Corman titles that I love is there's not a whole lot of BS to them. You know, the premise is set up. They always usually have great opening sequences, which Humanoids is no difference. There's a great opening sequence in this. But the thing I love about Humanoids from the Deep more than anything is the fact that it gets bigger and bigger as the movie goes on. And the last sequence of the film, without spoiling the movie, it's just so grand at the festival. And these suckers hitting land. And visually, pretty starking stuff that happens here. Like I said, they're not killing the women. They want to mate with the women. In typical B-horror movie fashion, you know, you're going to see a little bit more than you bargained for. I think Humanoids is just a cut above. It's one of those movies that when you look at the Roger Corman stuff from this time, if you ask me, Christian, what do you like better, Humanoids from the Deep or Galaxy of Terror? Well, the answer is going to be Humanoids from the Deep. This is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Roger Corman titles. I love this movie so much. There's a great cast in this. The movie moves at just such a good pace. It's not too fast, and it's also not too slow. And you fall in love with the little world you live in. It's almost like taking like the Amityville Jaws, but instead of a shark, it's these humanoid monstrous beings that are coming on the land and raising hell. And I'll tell you, the designs of the humanoids, I love them. And, you know, going to 4K, there's going to be more scrutiny under detail, and they held up big time. So, great movie. If you haven't seen this, I just implore you, above anything else, watch Humanoids from the Deep. This is about as classic as Roger Corman as you can get, in my opinion. Okay, guys, so if you remember, like I said, we did a review kind of a review. It was a kind of like a secret review, if you will, of the Blu-ray that came out. Now, I got a little pushback, not necessarily pushback, but people were asking me why I didn't talk about the Steelbook for Galaxy of Terror when we just reviewed that. Well, it's the same reason I'm not going to go into too much detail about it on this. I don't own it. I have the initial Blu-ray release with the reversed art, by the way. That's why it has this cool monster art on there. And I have the 4K UHD. Now, I think the Steelbooks are better restorations than the original releases. As a matter of fact, I think most of those original Steelbooks that Scream Factory was doing were that way. They were improved scans. So I'll tell you this, if you have that Steelbook, go watch it, see what the picture quality is like. If you think it looks good, it should look better than this, because this is not a great, this is not a super great looking scan. It's not bad, mind you. It's really not bad at all. I actually think this is better than the Galaxy of Terror, if I'm being fair. The Galaxy of Terror didn't look great. This looks better than the Galaxy of Terror. But if you have that, go watch it again, see how it looks, or watch it for the first time in case you haven't watched it at all. Compared to this, the original release, I'm happy to report that unlike Galaxy of Terror, which was a good improvement, mind you, it was taken from, I believe, some inner positive, if memory serves. This looks really, really good. This was from the original camera negative, and I believe this was shot on 35 and everything. I'm happy to report that I was very happy with the Humanoids from the Deep 4K. I thought it looked great. Is it the best 4K of the year so far? I mean, we're in February, but it's probably my favorite one I've seen so far this year, besides maybe Uncle Buck or something. But I was ear-to-ear grinning when I started this, because I was like, this looks fantastic, and it's the perfect kind of movie. Natural sunlight all throughout the movie. You got the ocean. The water looked gorgeous in this, and like I said, the designs of the creatures held up great under the 4K scrutiny. So I was super happy with the picture quality. I thought it looked really, really good. I'd give the picture quality on this a 9.5 out of 10. Super thrilled with it. The difference here is I do wish they would have stuck with the classic artwork. As you can see, they have good artwork on here, and shout out to the great Vic Morrow, who unfortunately we lost him. That tragic accident on the Twilight Zone movie set, but Vic Morrow's in this. I don't hate this artwork, as you guys can see. We've got some pretty good artwork there with this kind of green hue in the eyeballs. My only problem is there was nothing else to, I guess, enjoy. You can't reverse the art, so the case art is the same thing. Now, some people may say, well, Christian, you probably should have waited. Maybe they'll do a steelbook of this. But you know what? It is what it is. I was so excited to talk about Humanoids from the Deep again. I pre-ordered it on Amazon. I was so happy. On this one, they did do a high-definition transfer of the international cut. But on this one, what's nice is on both the 4K and the Blu-ray, you have the 4K restoration of both the theatrical cut and the international cut. So you're covered on all bases. This is the way it should be done. I'm glad Scream Factory's going back to their drawing board and not being lazy like they were for the Life Forces releases and stuff, just doing the theatrical cut on 4K on a 4K disc. This is the way it should be done. So good on you guys. Best case scenario. Why should you watch the theatrical cut? Well, I tell you why I like having it. For me, it's the same reason I'm glad that when they did the Scream Factory Friday the 13th box set, they did do a restoration of the theatrical cut. Historical purposes. Yeah, of course I want you to watch the international cut on here, which has some more, obviously, gory scenes and other things like that in it, which is all worth it, but I like it for the sake of history, of preserving things like that. So I'm glad that they do this. This is a great one. Robotine effects in here. Humanoids from the Deep, what can I say? Let's look at the discs just to show you that, then we'll talk about the features and everything. The discs aren't bad, I hope you like the color green, basically. You know, we're sticking with the same thing on both of that. You've got the poster art on the front, on the Blu-ray disc, and on the 4K disc, it highlights the upper part of that with the eyeballs of the humanoids. Let's talk about the features, because it's interesting when you look at the both of these. Let's look at the Blu-ray one first. So on the Blu-ray, we have never-before-seen deleted scenes, trailer, TV, and radio spots. Leonard Maltin interviews Roger Corman on the making of the film, the making of Humanoids from the Deep, featuring new interviews with Roger, James Spartalotti, composer James Horner, and Cindy Weinstraub, and New World trailers, which they had a couple movies on there. Let's look at the 4K one now. Of course, we got the 4K restoration of the theatrical and unrated cuts. of the negative presented in Dolby Vision, which again looked fantastic. We have a new audio commentary with film historian Russell Dieball. And on the Blu-ray disc, of course, we have the restoration of both cuts as well. We have the new audio commentary with Russell Dieball. We have deleted scenes, which aren't said as new anymore because they were previously put on the previous release. Theatrical trailers, TV and radio spots. Leonard Maltin interviews executive producer Roger Corman in the making of the film. The making of Humanoids from the Deep, featuring interviews with Roger Corman, editor Mark Goldblatt, second unit director James Bartoletti, composer James Horner, special effects artist Chris Wallace, and Kenny Myers, who Kenny Myers worked on Return of the Living Dead 2, by the way. And actors Cindy Weintraub and Linda Shane. Alternate opening title sequence and still gallery. So I don't think that title sequence is on the DVD, the Blu-ray. I don't remember it. It wasn't listed on the back, but it is on here. So in essence, this is basically the best case scenario kind of release on here. They gave us a brand new audio commentary with a film historian, which I have not listened to, admittedly. I don't typically go to those right away, but that's okay. You know, this is the best case scenario for this release. So I'll say this, guys. I will say pick this one up over Galaxy of Terror for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think it's a better movie. Number two, I think it's the best case scenario. We're dealing with the negative, which is the closest and the most original source for restoration, and you get all the cuts on here, which is important for my sake, I think, for historical purposes above anything else, and it's a good thing. If you have the Steelbook, though, I'd recommend checking that out, seeing how it looks for yourself. I'm not going to be able to just, I don't want to give hearsay on saying pick it up, don't pick it up. Watch the Steelbook. If you're happy with the picture quality, go for it, stick with that. Or if you think it could be a little bit better, the 4K is probably okay. But also, I think you can go on like Blu-ray.com and look up screen grabs of the restorations for some, which, you know, it's a screen grab. You're not really going to be able to see the quality throughout a motion of an image, but it's something. But I think if you have the Steelbook, you're probably fine. But if you have this old release, guys, I'd say it's a good shoe and upgrade. Great movie above anything else. This is one of my favorite Roger Corman movies. Humanoids from the Deep, guys. Thank you for watching. Pick this one up when you get it on sale or whenever, but above all else, watch it. It's a great movie. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.